Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So when I first reached out to you, I'm so glad that we can make it work. I know that you are now joining us from Asia. Where in
Yeah.
Asia are you?
I'm in Manila, in the Philippines.
Okay.
Oh,
There for pickleball?
Yeah. Here for a small life adjustment,
Okay.
if you will.
wait, define that. Define small life adjustment.
So I don't have a return ticket. We'll we'll go with that.
Got
Okay,
it.
there you
Got it.
Yeah.
go. That's more like a major life adjustment, but
Yeah.
splitting
It's-
hairs there.
yeah, it's part of the journey.
Yep.
Uh-huh. So setting the stage for our audience to meet you, can you take us back to Little Rob and then kind of lead us into the reason why you're here? The title of the show is The Grit Factor, how Rob Nunnery competes through Crohn's disease. So can you take us back from when you were younger up to through the diagnosis to get right into it?
Yeah. In respect to the health stuff, so I was diagnosed and symptoms first came on in 2022. Diagnosed in 2023. And looking back like to childhood, when I first went to see a doctor, they were like, "Well, have you ever had any issues, prior?" And I was like, "No, I've been fine." But like, it's crazy how you look back at childhood and then you're like, "Oh, well, there were some signs actually. There were some things that were issues, but they would kind of resolve and go away."
Like what, Rob?
And I,
I'm curious.
uh Yeah, just so all of my Crohn's is perianal. So, oftentimes you hear with Crohn's that people, have really bad urgency, have to go to the bathroom a lot. It's all abdominal based, like GI, like stomach stuff, where you have, really bad abdominal pain. I've never had any of that. Mine has always kind of expressed itself in fistulas and abscesses, all in the perianal region. And looking back at childhood, there were like that stuff was going on when I was a kid, but it would kind of resolve itself, and I wouldn't. It was also like a weird thing as a kid. Like I wouldn't necessarily like. I wasn't comfortable bringing it up to my parents, and it was just like something that would clear up, and then I would just continue on and. Yeah, looking back, I wish I would have gotten it dealt with as a kid or looked at as a kid at least.
Yeah. Okay. Were you I'm assuming you started playing because I know you're a tennis player. You went to college for tennis, so I'm assuming you played junior tennis. Bring us through that part of your life.
Yeah, so grew up playing every sport other than basically soccer. My sister played soccer, my younger sister. I played baseball, basketball, football, tennis. I started a little late on the tennis spectrum anyways. You have these junior tennis players that want to go pro. They start when they're 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I didn't first a tennis racket till I was 12, almost 13.
Oh.
And then, so at that time was like football is I would say football was probably my first love in terms of sport. Like I really liked it. I was, you know, at the time, 12, 13, I was the quarterback of the middle school football team and
Mhm.
on a path to do that in high school.
Big
And then I
man on
started
campus.
tennis. Yeah, in middle school, really big man. Yeah. But so I found tennis, started playing it. I was like, yeah, I was never going to be like 6'3", 6'4" for to be like a good quarterback or a football player. I'm 5'11", so I knew I was going to be kind of limited in size and started playing tennis. And, at 12, 13, 14, you basically have to kind of well, I did. Some people that are just insanely athletic can kind of keep doing the multi-sport thing, but for tennis, I kind of went all in at like 13, 14 and just devoted basically the rest of my years until college uh, going all out trying to get as good as I could get for a scholarship and ended up getting a Division I scholarship to a small D1 school, UNC Asheville in North
Hmm.
Carolina.
Hmm.
And
Did you play for a year at
so
Stanford though, Rob? I thought
not
I
Stanford. It's a
no.
common misconception.
I thought I heard you
Samford.
say that in a podcast I was
No,
listening
I
to.
did, but it's Samford, not
Oh,
Stanford. Stanford's a,
okay.
I like to say it really fast so people
Right.
don't really understand what I'm saying.
Right, right,
No,
right.
I played at Stanford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, right, right. Yeah, yeah, okay. Wow, Stanford, impressive. Okay, so
Thank
you
you.
UNC Asheville. Okay, gotcha. Keep going.
yeah, so finished my career there. I started at Stanford, finished 3 years at Asheville. Studied broadcast journalism actually, which is why I like doing the podcast stuff. I like doing some commentary. I like writing and do a newsletter. So the journalism stuff like never lent itself to necessarily quote unquote a career. I was
Mhm.
out of school. I was looking at some different broadcast jobs at the time. I mean, we're talking 2007, so it was the path wasn't you pick up your phone and start recording yourself like it is now. It's
Yeah.
you have to go to a small market TV station and you have to send into reel and compete with 500 other applicants to make $25,000 a year.
Right.
And I was like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to. I actually got a job in Butte, Montana. But it was like, do I want to do that or do I want to do something else? And I remember like a very specific time in high school having a conversation with my friend Jeff, and I'm from Conyers, Georgia, so a suburb of Atlanta, but very kind of like southern, small town kind of vibes where people that go to school, like a lot of my high school class probably still lives in that same town, like that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I remember having a conversation with Jeff, and I was just like, I don't want this traditional southern life where, you go to college, you meet a girlfriend, you get engaged your senior year, you get married, and then, you get a job and kids and your life's scripted. There it is.
Right.
And I was like, I don't want that. I want to do something different.
Mm.
I've always had like this sense of wanting to have a bit more of an unconventional life. And, here I am, here I am in Manila. So
Yeah, yeah. Had to.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're living that. You're
Yeah.
living
yeah,
what you spoke as a young man. So kudos to you for that.
yeah. Yeah, and it's been, I mean, this podcast isn't long enough to bore you with every move I've ever done, but it was a pivotal one after school because I had the option of, going to the broadcast journalism route and working at a TV station. But I opted, I don't even know how I found it, but there were two jobs that I found as basically a live-in tennis coach.
Mhm.
And one was in England. And the only thing I remember about the town that it was in was that they do these cheese race, like they roll cheese down a hill and it's a race and people get injured a lot. But it's in this,
Rolling cheese down
so
a hill.
rolling cheese down a hill, it was a race.
Okay.
And I remember
Makes
looking up the
sense.
town and that's like the first thing that came up. So I was like, all right, I mean, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And then there's another one in the Highlands of Scotland in this little town called Boat of Garden. And I ended up taking that one basically. So I moved to Scotland right after I graduated in '07 and basically became a live-in tennis coach for a 9-year-old kid in the north of Scotland and
Oh, wow.
traveled around and trained with him and took him to tournaments.
Wow, you're a real globetrotter. Can I ask you something about now that you mentioned that you were a coach for a 9-year-old? Because Tosh, we have a lot of parents who listen to this show, and
Mhm.
they have children who they're raising in sports and could be tennis, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like your junior career in tennis and your experience with your parents, and then also as a coach to a young child. What did you like about how your parents' involvement with your sports? Were there things that you liked? Were there things that you didn't like? And then as a coach, seeing it from that perspective to a young child, are there things that you recommend to parents out there in terms of how to be with your kid in sport?
Yeah, I can give a master class on not what to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, tell us what to do and what not to do.
So yeah, so my experience I wouldn't say was the most positive as a junior tennis player.
Okay.
So my mom kind of did the soccer thing with my sister, and my dad did basically all the tennis stuff.
Mhm.
So, taking me to practice, taking me to tournaments, but not in a like we didn't have the greatest relationship, throughout that. It was kind of the prototypical overbearing, high expectation. Um, if you lose, it's going to be a very, very rough car ride.
Hmm.
It's just stuff like that where, as a kid, I'm obviously like trying my best, doing my best, don't want to lose.
Of course.
Hmm.
Right.
It's the last thing I want.
Right.
Yeah.
But hearing that, we're spending a lot of money on this training, on the travel, on the hotels, on the flights, to do all this, all that does is just add expectation, add layers of pressure for a kid, um,
Absolutely.
to actually not perform your best, right? To play worse typically and feel like you're not having fun with it either. So it was that was in a nutshell, I would say my experience as a junior tennis player.
Mm,
So I really just wanted to, by the time I was graduating, I just was like, I just want to get out of here and I want to be on my own, be independent, do my own thing, and kind of just lower that stress and expectation. So,
yeah.
what I guess I took into that going, on the other side of it, because I've done a lot of coaching, starting with Callum, who is the kid I was teaching. Um, Not quite the same because, right, I'm not his parents, but I was more of, I was a 22-year-old kid myself in some sense, and he was basically my little buddy.
Right.
So, we'd bike ride to the tennis courts together and go practice for 2 hours. You know, I would try to make him believe because he's, similar to, Atlanta. I was, I felt like I was from like a smaller town.
Hmm.
It's the suburbs of Atlanta. It's not that small,
Right. Right.
but this is like rural Scotland,
Right.
and there's not many good players, and there's not a whole lot of exposure to top level, tennis. So all I wanted to do was just instill into him that it's like whatever you want to achieve, you can. You just got to work hard for it. It doesn't matter where you come from, and you put in the work, and you can literally do whatever you want. You can write your own ticket. And he knew that I had just finished playing college tennis, and I think that put that on the radar. Like at least planted a seed, right? I mean, he was 9, so it planted a seed with the parents, um, and the parents were great. They always Callum had 2 older sisters who were at boarding school at the time. So, they would come in on the train on the weekends type thing, see their parents, but they developed independence at a very early age,
Mm,
which I think, some people like boarding school or the idea of it, some people hate it. I think it's really great that it creates this really strong sense of independence and, that you can survive on your own at an early age. And Callum eventually went to boarding school as well for tennis
mm,
and for studies. Just I mean, basically being from the north of Scotland, you have to if you want to have good practice and stuff like that. So,
Hmm.
uh, kind of a cool full circle moment is I'll fast forward a little bit to my coaching post being in Scotland. I coached college tennis for a little bit and eventually ended up coaching at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, as an assistant coach to my head coach that I had in college. So I basically joined him
mhm.
and, I helped recruit and we pulled in some Scottish players and, fast forward basically 10 years later and Callum got a scholarship to play at Drake University.
No
I
way.
wasn't there anymore.
Oh,
I wasn't there anymore, but it
Wow.
was it was very cool that
Huh.
I think it's 17 he actually was a freshman in school. So he went early
yeah.
and
Wow.
I think graduated by 20. So he graduated before he could even drink. And just a really cool full circle though that he went to
What are the
Drake and that
chances that he
was
would come to
yeah,
the school that you had been coaching at?
yeah.
One quick anecdote, and then Tosh, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah.
But I was listening to something on Instagram, and a clip came up of is Taylor Fritz? Is that his name? He's a very tall, good-looking professional
The
men's tennis player.
USA,
Yeah,
USA tennis
what's
player.
is that his name? Taylor Fritz? And he
Yeah.
Yeah.
was talking about his upbringing playing competitive sport. And it was interesting because, to your point, you had an overbearing father, and looking back, in retrospect, it was very difficult for you and challenging. And he was talking about he had a similar situation where his dad is very overbearing. And it would be to the point where after a loss one time, the father dropped him off. It may be getting this wrong, but dropped him off at a park and just said, walk home. And he took off. And he said, at the
Yeah.
time, I hated it. I hated him for it. It was terrible. And he's like, but now, in retrospect, looking back, it instilled a sense of grit in me, and a sense of independence in me. So it's like, I mean, I'm raising my kids in tennis, but I could never do something like that. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like, where do you, what's the happy medium? What's the happy balance between not giving a trophy to every kid, right?
Mhm.
But also not abandoning them at a park and telling them to walk home because they lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tricky. It's
Yeah,
tricky.
it is tricky. I think, yeah, I think it's easy to credit some grit and resilience to that. Um, especially based on where he is now, right?
Right, right,
But
that's true. Right, like if you were in prison, for like whatever, you wouldn't be sitting down being like, I really
right.
appreciated that experience. Anyways, Tosh, go ahead, you jump in.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So you're saying that you were tennis coaching, and from there, what was your next step, and like how did that tie you into pickleball? How did you get wrapped up in playing?
Yeah, there's a solid gap between tennis and pickle. So
Hmm.
tennis, I was at Drake and then I went to Georgia State with the head coach. We both kind of moved together and I was his assistant at Georgia State. So back to Atlanta. And I got to a point where I was kind of tired of tennis. I've always been super into like self growth, reading business books, leadership books, stuff like that. And I just felt that at the time I had done everything I wanted to do with tennis. It allowed me to travel, it allowed me to have like a pretty fun lifestyle. It wasn't a lot of money, obviously, in college coaching. Still not so much unless you're at like a big five, really good job.
Mm.
But I was basically just like, I always have tennis at the end of the day to make money. If I, and I was always grateful for, I was always like, if talking about gratitude for, the stuff that my parents or the stuff that my dad like made me do in terms of like going to practice when I didn't want to go to practice and stuff like that. Like that stuff I'm super grateful for because it made me, um, well, one, learn how to stick with something, which I think is tough nowadays for kids.
Yep.
But two, it gave me a skill that I could truly lean back on for the rest of my life. Like I talk to friends now when they were growing up, they were all working at restaurants, and there's a lot of good lessons to be learned at working in the service industry.
Mm,
I had as a high schooler and college person, I never had to do that because I could always teach a tennis lesson.
Mm.
And so in my head, I was like, oh, I can always teach tennis.
Mm.
If push comes to shove and things go sideways, I can always go back and feed some balls and make some money if I have to.
right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my worst case. And it's like, if that's the case, then why don't I give something else a go? So I just started looking for different jobs and it started a path of doing a good series and string of jobs that I absolutely hated. I learned that I hate offices. I hate 9 to 5s. I hate sitting at a desk. I hate having somebody tell me what to do all the time. There's a lot I hated about going to an office every day.
Yeah.
And it took me a few jobs to figure that out. But I had always wanted to have my own thing, not so much financially wise. It was more so for kind of the cure of the office thing where I don't have to do that and I can have the flexibility to go wherever I want, work wherever I want, be with the people that I want to be with and just have that freedom to not feel like I'm chained to a desk.
Yeah. Right.
No offense to anybody that has a job that they love, because there's a lot
No,
of people that
no.
have jobs that they love,
Well,
but
it
it was
sounds
just
like
never for me.
it sounds like you clued into something knowing that you had the talent to be able to kind of fall back on teaching if you ever needed it. And then it's a stark, comparison to then go into an office, right? When you've been on a tennis court for so long. I mean, there is something about saying, about being outdoors, right? In the sunshine and the weather, and then you're
Yeah.
in a sterile office space. Yeah.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
get me out of here. How do
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
fastest exit. Yeah.
Well, it's good that you
But
had an awareness of that.
yeah, and I wouldn't have known unless I did it, right? So
Yes.
like had to do it, had to feel the pain,
Yeah.
and then if you don't feel the pain, you're not gonna know. So
Right. Right.
felt the
Yeah.
pain, and then I was like, okay, well,
How
it's
long did
not
that last
this.
about you trying out, offices
Yeah,
and working?
3 to 4 years of
Hmm.
bouncing around, trying different types of jobs. Point for me is like I created what I didn't want.
Yeah.
So, looking forward, I value like I don't need to have a big team of people. I like having the flexibility to work from a laptop in Manila and talk to you guys like right now. So it's so cool.
Yeah.
So I love that, which is just having internet access and being able to work from wherever. That's still incredibly crucial. Um, what I saw in pickleball that was a little bit of a challenge for me was heavily structured. The schedule is heavily structured.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This is the tour schedule. I've got to be here on these dates. And that was very different for me because like, with the advertising business, I would book a trip same day international and not have any worries about it. So I had the total freedom and flexibility to do stuff like that. And now it's like, oh, my schedule's set for me for the year.
Right.
And there's not much wiggle room in that schedule. Like I have
Hmm.
to be at these places because I'm contractually obligated to do so.
Right.
Right.
So that was a big shift.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose with every job, there's going to be
There's
things
got to
that
be
don't.
something, right?
Yeah,
There's got
right.
to
I
be
mean, it
something.
can't be all puppies and rainbows, right?
Willy-nilly. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And
Yeah.
well, you
Of
had
course.
great success on the tour when you were playing, when you started playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was
So
that was
How
that was
quickly?
that
Yeah.
an, that that wasn't enough, I guess, to keep your fire burning, even though you had
uh,
a steady schedule.
no, it was just not that I hated it. Like I
Yeah.
also would pinch myself sometimes thinking, at the time I was, 35, 36, like people are paying me to go get on planes and go to hit this wiffle ball like at 35 when I haven't played a sport in 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
What is this? This is absurd. So I would pinch myself and be like, this is so cool. Like I feel like I'm an athlete, like I'm traveling around, people are paying me to go play the sport. Like so, that was the other side of it is like that aspect is so fun and so
Well,
cool.
we do talk. I mean, that is a recurring theme, Tosh, right, on this show is that pickleball is, for a lot of people, a way to reinvent themselves. And it's a second chance for us as competitors. I know, like, you talked a lot. I think it was in a podcast, I forget with who, but you were saying with college tennis and tennis, like, when you graduate, tennis was your identity. It
Yeah.
kind of was who you were and like who were you outside of tennis. And I felt very much the same when I graduated college tennis. I was successful as Division 3, but I was a national singles champion, national team champions. And after I graduated, I was like, who am I outside of tennis? I accomplished so much, and
Yeah.
now that's just over. And you play like whatever club tennis, and then I kind of switched to squash. But pickleball really it's given me a second chance. And it sounds like pickleball was really a second chance for you as a competitor.
Yeah. And I have always liked kind of like the idea of like these grand experiments. And it's something like I'm leaning into even now, like honestly, with this move to Asia,
Mm.
I'm doing it basically with a new health condition, a new surgery. I don't have health insurance here. I basically have two carry-on bags that I brought. One and a half of the bags were all ostomy supplies.
Your supplies, yeah.
So it's a big grand experiment is kind of how I'm looking at it. And however it goes, I think I can share it and people will learn from it. And that's how I looked at pickleball. It's like I was at a place where I left the business. I had done a podcast for a year as just kind of a goof, a fun thing to do. It was called Fail On. So I had, through the advertising business, I had been involved in a lot of different kind of business conferences and networking type deals. One in particular called Mastermind Talks, run by a guy named Jason up in Toronto. Basically, have 150 entrepreneurs that would convene on a place, and it would be like 3 days of just like really good networking,
Mhm.
essentially. And um, so basically, I met good people through that. I started this podcast called Fail On, interviewing a bunch of people that were in that group. Um, so a lot of names that have actually turned out to be really successful. I remember at one of them, I sat and had dinner with Jesse Cole, who is the founder of the Savannah Bananas, which have just gone absolutely insane.
Yeah, I've heard of
Um,
them. Have you,
but at the
Neely?
time,
No, I'm like Savannah Bananas. What the hell is that?
It's
Oh
like
yeah,
a
you'll
combination of
yeah.
baseball and like theatrics almost, right?
Basically baseball
Gymnastics.
and TikTok, essentially.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
But
Google that.
but it's legitimate like a baseball game. You go there to watch.
Huh.
Kind of like the
They
Harlem Globetrotters, kind of, right? But for
yeah.
baseball.
Okay.
Sorry.
All
Yeah, go
right.
ahead.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
They've sold out every game for the past 6 years.
Really? Huh. Okay. I'm gonna
And
Google.
like and they're filling up like college football stadiums, like 90,000 people.
Holy all right. Well,
Yeah,
how can
it's
pickleball start
absurd.
doing something like this?
I've thought a lot about this, believe it or not. Who would
Start
have thought?
something. This is
Yeah.
your next adventure.
I mean, it's honestly, I think it would do really well. It's what pickleball needs. Like pickleball is taking itself so seriously,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's pickleball.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You see the tours trying to, I don't know. I see both. The tours are trying to be really legitimate and make it like a ESPN level broadcast type sport where, um, I think it would get more eyeballs if you did the Savannah Bananas of pickleball. I think it would. I
Mm,
just think more. I think
mm,
it'd be more fun to watch. Not many
mm,
casual viewers want to watch 30 ball deke rallies.
mm,
So
Right. 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 I like I find it fun to watch, interesting to watch when there's I don't know, arguments and people getting angry with each other and
spicy. Yeah, yeah,
when
me
it's
too.
spicy. Yeah, that's when it's fun. That's why John McEnroe was so fun to watch because you knew you were going to be entertained. And so
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, there is an element of sport and entertainment. How do you make it entertaining for people? So yeah, to your point, maybe you've got something there.
I mean, the WWE is scripted and fake, and it absolutely crushes.
Yeah. I was
yeah.
just thinking, I was like literally WWF, which was when I was young. My brother and I
Yeah.
were obsessed with WWF.
Yep.
And right. I mean, obviously, it's all scripted. My kids can't believe it. They're like, Mom, no, that's real. And I said, No, no, no. It's all planned out.
You told him already about Santa Claus isn't real.
Yeah. I
I
mean, come
know, right.
on.
Jeez.
I screwed up on that one.
In the
Um,
real world, kids. Yeah.
yeah, right. That's the real world. Um,
Yeah.
but so Rob, so tell us, okay, so you started on this journey down pickleball, and
Yeah.
obviously you were successful, you're doing really well, and I was reading an article here on it was Pickleball 52. You said you were playing, it was 2025, I think. You said I was living in Hawaii and going through a difficult public separation.
Yeah.
And that is when the Crohn's really started, really flared up. And you had mentioned like, when you were a
Yeah.
kid, maybe you had some signs, some warnings, red flags. And so I'm curious, tell us about when the Crohn's really flared up. And I'm also curious to know, do you think there's any connection between when it really started for you, when the pain really started, and the difficult kind of relationship situation you are in? And was there a relationship, or is it purely coincidental?
Yeah. I'm not a big one for coincidences. I think most things are related. There's a great book called The Body Keeps Score. And I think that was super relevant in my case. So yeah, this was separation initially happened like end of January 2022. And my symptoms, like the first time I felt something was March 2022. So it'd been, yeah, I guess only a couple months since the separation happened. And it was a very stressful time. Just, I just moved to Hawaii. It was supposed to be, my wife at the time and I were making this move. She was very like hesitant for the entire time. And I was like, why is she so hesitant? We're moving to Hawaii. This is sick. And
Right.
and yeah, and it turned out the reason she was hesitant, didn't want to go. But so basically I was in Hawaii, this new move, which I thought was going to be, as a married couple, we'd been married 10 years at the time. I know I didn't include that in kind of the timeline of things,
Okay.
but I was married throughout that time.
Gotcha. Okay. Noted.
So, so yeah, marriage of 10 years, basically was told that she was going to go visit her dad in Georgia, randomly also lived in Georgia. But so she left, and then I was just basically in Hawaii by myself trying to like figure out what the hell was going on. And it was essentially, yeah, it was just a new place. I didn't know anybody. I had just started this kind of new job, if you will, as like at this really high end property that's like celebrities, billionaires, like really wealthy people, as kind of the director of tennis. And the plan was to do that and then also continue playing the tour. I just signed a PPA contract for 3 years. So I was going to continue to play and travel. And I didn't realize how hard that would be going from Hawaii constantly back, but it was hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, the symptoms kind of came up in March, and it it came on quick and it didn't let up, and it hasn't let up since, to be honest with you. So it was yeah, it was a tough couple months, and I think, does it happen regardless at some point? The Crohn symptoms really come to the forefront? Yeah, probably, but I think it really certainly accelerated things.
Right.
Looking back, can you say that you were living chronically with some sort of pain even as you were a kid when you were talking about you think things started back then?
Yeah, because even into guys are so bad with this stuff, right? It's like, just go to the
Mm,
doctor.
yeah.
Like, why are you trying to just sort this stuff out on your own?
Right. What is
Like,
that, Rob?
just I don't know, honestly. It's like
Or not only to a doctor,
an
but to
inconvenience.
confide in friends or yeah, look for an
Inconvenience.
answer.
Yeah, but it was a weird one, right? It's like I have
Yeah.
like this weird pain in my butt. Like, it's like,
Mm,
am I gonna tell my buddy with that? Like, it's just like, to me it was like, and I think it does go back to childhood where I didn't feel super safe bringing up that kind of stuff.
yeah.
Interesting.
And I think it just kind of carried over into the rest of my life, of where I would like have these health things, and I would just manage it on my own. Was it out of like embarrassment of what it was, or shame, or like not wanting to talk to a doctor about like my butt, or like, I don't know, but um it was certainly like a through line throughout my adult years, until I basically had no choice but to go get it figured out,
Right.
because it wasn't going away.
So how long were you living with pain? And then at what point did you say, like, I can't take this anymore. I've got to, and I don't, and actually maybe you could just kind of give like talk to us like we're kindergartner. Like, what is Crohn's disease? When did you start dealing with the pain, and at what point did you have to get a colostomy? And can you talk about what that actually is?
Yeah. So Crohn's so there's IBD, is irritable bowel disease. There's two forms of it. It's ulcerative colitis, um, which is just pretty much stomach inflammation, and Crohn's, which can be anywhere from the esophagus all the way to the anus, which is with chronic inflammation, basically.
So is
So
Crohn's like a step past IBD?
it's one of the diseases within IBD.
Okay.
Um, so it's like you have, Crohn's colitis foundation. So they're always kind of lumped together, Crohn's and colitis. So, but usually Crohn's, not usually, actually, both can eventually result in getting an ostomy, which is basically, you people get them for tons of reasons. Sometimes you have to get sometimes you have cancer and you have to get that part of your, you know, intestine removed. It could be a number of things. Mine, for example, was perianal. So basically, anytime I would go to the bathroom, um, and have a bowel movement, it would really exacerbate the pain.
Mhm.
So, and it would create just inflammation. Like, and obviously you go every day, so it's like, you should go every day. But the inflammation, that would always just irritate it and create inflammation daily. And anytime it got inflamed, it was just constant pain. Um, and mine is what they call it's called a complex horseshoe fistula, which basically just means inflammation happened, and then it created this abscess. Like, basically, just think of it as like a little ball of fluid that's, around your anus, that just gets trapped, has nowhere to go. And what happens from there is sometimes it'll create these little tracts that'll branch off, And that's what a fistula is, basically an abscess that turns into different tracts. And then, so you basically have these little different tracts full of fluid that are just incredibly painful.
Mhm.
Um, and that's basically how it showed up for me, was an abscess from, and that turned into complex fistulas that basically just turned into a chronic thing that doesn't go away. So even after colostomy, I still have fistulas and it's still painful, just
And
nowhere near the level it was before.
yeah, and tell the listeners what a colostomy is.
Yeah, so it's basically when you get an opening in your they it's a surgery where they cut an opening in your stomach, your abdominal wall, to pull either your small intestine through or your large intestine through. So you can it's diversion basically. So you're not going to go to the bathroom through your bottom anymore. You're going to have your bowel movements through your abdominal into essentially a bag.
Right.
So ileostomy is your small intestine. And if you're looking down at your body, that's always your small intestine is always going to be on your right side.
Mhm.
Got it.
Your large intestine is on your left side, and then
Okay.
that's where it goes down into your colon, down into your bottom.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I had I did a bunch of research looking into it, and I actually opted for the colorectal surgeon at Mayo in Jacksonville wanted to do kind of the default is ileostomy
Mhm.
because it's easier to reverse, they say. So, and when I say reverse, it's they make this opening, they create it to basically divert your waste so it doesn't go through your bottom, and hopes that the inflammation, like without constantly going through, that it'll calm down, it'll heal, it'll
Mhm.
slowly get better. Um, what I learned is that people with perianal Crohn's, like the recurrence rate after reversal is like 90% plus.
Oh.
So reversal is probably not in the card. So it's probably going to be something I have forever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I went into it like I went to the surgery like thinking that and knowing that that was probably going to be the case. And I think it was the only way I really could go into it because if
Mhm.
I went into it like these hopes of not having it forever, it would be such a mental battle, like thinking this is going to solve it. It doesn't solve it. And then, oh no, I have this forever now.
Right.
But the difference between colostomy and ileostomy, other than it being small intestine versus large intestine, is, as you eat food, it goes into the small intestine first. So it is very watery at that time. So most of the output that's coming out of an ileostomy is mostly liquid,
Mhm.
which means that you're not absorbing as much nutrients. It's not you're getting very dehydrated because you're basically losing all your fluid all the time.
Right.
The output is more frequent, so it's probably happening kind of throughout the day all the time. So it's just more it's a bit more to manage, I think. So colostomy is a little better on the hydration. I still am super prone to getting dehydrated, so I have to basically you've got electrolytes all the time, kind of mixed in with water, and I'm trying to just drink constantly. Uh, but the output's also a bit thicker,
Got it.
and yeah, so and just a bit more easier to manage and consistent, and you can have what feels like more consistent like output times, which is important for pickleball, especially at tournaments. I've had to change a lot in terms of how I prepare and play and compete in terms of preparation. But it feels like colostomy is way more manageable than an ileostomy would have been.
And you say that the colostomy was once you had that procedure done, it was the first time in what, 2 to 3 years where the pain was much better?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I didn't realize how much pain I was actually in. It
Oh,
was like because it just normalized.
Yeah.
After like it makes me like yeah, it makes me tear up thinking about like yeah, like how much pain I was in the last couple of years. It was
right.
yeah, it's super hard. It was super hard, and just to have the surgery and to do it and know that it was like really it was my only option. Like in the past couple of years, I didn't know how bad the pain had gotten, but I knew how bad like the mental health stuff had gotten because it was um yeah, it was like not knowing if I was ever going to get out of it or if it would ever change or if the pain was ever going to go away. And it was like that's a tough place to be of feeling that kind of pain every day and not knowing that there's a way out.
Mhm.
And the fact that, I was brave and I had the surgery and then after the surgery, like there's a story I tell of like there's this walk that I would do from Ponte Vedra from the condo that I was in to the beach and I would always do that, and like the walk would be so uncomfortable towards the end because it hurts to stand for long periods of time, pre-surgery, even now. But it was tough to even go on walks because it's a half mile there, half mile back, and then of course you want to be on the sand and at the beach for a little bit, walking. I'd always look for shark's teeth because there's shark's teeth all over the place. Um, so it'd be like an hour walk, and by the time got back, I was just so uncomfortable. Because like one aspect that I haven't really talked about is with the fistulas, I went through, I think, 5 surgeries, just colorectal surgeries over the past 3 years now, 2 years now, 3 years. And basically what they did, or like the way it's all so medieval, like the way they treat this stuff. Um, like it's actually crazy to think about. Like I've got a bag strapped to my stomach that waste goes into. The way they treat fistulas is through these things called ceton drains. So I told you like there's these like fistula tracks and it's exactly that. It's like think about like a tunnel around like your bottom in different areas and it kind of branches into different places. So the way they treat that is the abscess forms if there's nowhere for the fluid basically to go. It just gets stuck and that creates this pressure keeps building. And then you have to go basically to the ER to get it drained. They have to cut it. It releases the fluid. It feels better for about 12 hours and then it starts building up again.
Mhm.
So it's like this never-ending battle of nightmare.
Right.
So the way they treat it is with these ceton drains, which are basically like little wires, essentially, that they put through the track, and then they kind of like tie it. So it's like basically these loops, um, and I've got 3 of them basically. So it keeps the fistulas open.
Mhm.
So it basically lets like the fluid never build up to where it creates the pressure. It just lets it like go through. But again, like I've basically had that for 3 years. That's also like such a pain to manage because I have fluid basically coming out, right? Because it's draining. So
Mhm.
I always have to have gauze on hand. Like, I traveled 2 carry-on bags. I've got like half a bag of gauze
Yeah.
because there's a specific gauze that I like that's super soft and it doesn't cause as much irritation. So I basically have to always have like fresh, clean gauze to put between my cheeks.
And like chronic pain, talk about that because I do know people who have dealt with other health issues where there's chronic pain involved, and it, from what I gather, it's excuse me, a very isolating thing, right? Because you see all these other people around you enjoying their lives, having normal lives, and quote unquote normal lives, and here you are suffering. And then a lot of times you go to the medical establishment, they either dismiss your pains or tell you there's nothing they can do, or it's all in your head, that type of thing. I mean, obviously, there's obviously very physical things happening, but I've heard people who've dealt with chronic pain describe it as very isolating and very lonely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are kind of known as like an invisible illness because you don't really see like externally. Even with a colostomy, you could look at me and be like, oh, he's an athletic dude that probably super healthy. And that's the appearance that I would give off to somebody that's meeting me for the first time.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, playing through it past couple years, basically, I think you could probably ask people at tournaments, and they would be like, I didn't know he was dealing with anything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what do you do? Like, you don't go around like just telling everybody how bad you feel.
Right.
You
Right.
know, like people are asking me how I'm doing. I'll be honest. I'll be like, I'm not feeling my best. I'd say stuff like that, but
But then
I
it's
wouldn't really
also,
get into it.
I mean, but then it's also, it's like you need an outlet. You're a human being. And
Yeah.
I know guys tend to want to push down their emotions and their feelings. And women, it sometimes can feel a little bit easier to voice our emotions and whatnot. So I imagine, like, as a guy, that can be difficult to begin with. And then on top of that, just sort of embarrassing to have to tell people. And so is that, I know you started this incredible blog, and Tosh and I were talking earlier about, I mean, it's just they're really, really beautiful posts, just really raw and honest. And has that been cathartic for you, therapeutic for you to be able to release all of this, at least, onto the page?
Yeah, yeah, in a sense, I think I've always, not always, but it feels like I'm very open with this stuff, right? It feels easier to write about than to talk about, obviously.
Mm,
Talking about it hits a little harder.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I think writing at least has gotten it out there to where people kind of understand what's going on and can relate to it in a sense. If everybody has stuff going on, right? It's not just me, and it's not just health. Like life, we're human beings. Life's hard. Like everybody goes through really tough stuff. And there's no exception to that, period.
Right.
So we all have our own struggles. And I think just me sharing what I'm going through, whether it's somebody's health stuff or whether it's somebody's relationships, whether it's their stress financially, whatever it is, it's like I think just talking about it loosens its grip on you a little bit.
For sure. Rob, what do you, I wanted to ask you, but then maybe Tosh, you can jump in. I had a note here to ask you about the rule of thirds, because I've been seeing this pop up on my Instagram a lot lately, and whether it's, somebody who started a business or whether it's an athlete pursuing their craft, their sport, and you're both of those. And they say the rule of thirds is a third of the time, you're going to feel really shitty. You're going to feel down in the dumps. You're going to feel like just frustrated. A third of the time, you're going to feel just very meh, like things aren't great, things aren't bad, they're just sort of plodding along. And then a third of the time, you can expect to feel excited and adrenaline and pumped about what you're doing. Does that ring true? Because I know you're also an entrepreneur. You started something called Ostoware. Does that ring true for your entrepreneurial endeavors? And does that ring true for you as a professional pickleball player?
Yeah, it feels, yes. I don't know if I would agree with the percentages, but
Okay.
it feels like a lot more struggle than 33%.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. What would
To
your
me,
percentage be then?
to me, there's not a whole lot of meh or in between. It's like I would say 66% struggle, 33% of the this is great.
Yeah.
And I think, but to that point, it's like I try to remind myself, it's y- like all the stuff I've been through and like over the past few years, it's like you can only have as much joy and as much happiness to the inverse of that, right? To how much pain you've dealt with and how much suffering you've had and how much hurt you've dealt with. Like to me, that has allowed me that allows me to have like greater joy and to really appreciate that, maybe not greater joy, but to really appreciate the joy more when it does happen because you're not taking it for granted.
Mm.
And, I think you see that a lot with health stuff and like, a torn meniscus, for example, like when your knee's not working, that's all you think about is like, why can't my knee just work? But when it is working, you don't even think about like, oh, my knee's like, my whole
right.
body's functioning like it should. I
Right.
should be really grateful for this time. So
Right.
you don't really appreciate it until you see like that it doesn't work. And I think that's true in entrepreneurship as well as life and business, relationships, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yep, I agree. So I guess before we close, Rob, do you want to share what you're up to now, how people can reach out to you if they have questions, if they want, especially if they want to get on your newsletter,
Yeah.
how they
Yeah.
can
So
do that?
newsletter's easy. It's just robnunnery.com.
Hmm.
Should be able to read old posts there and sign up for new ones. I'm adjusting the newsletter a little bit actually. I used to do daily and kind of like do like intertwine kind of the newsletter with the book I'm reading at the time. I'm changing it to 3 times a week, so it's a little bit more easy to manage.
Hmm.
And each is going to have kind of a segment. So, we talked about like experiments and, pickleball is started off as an experiment too. I was like, I want to see if I can go pro in a year. And, and I documented it and I wrote journals and articles on it. But so Wednesday is going to be kind of like the experiment day. So I share like what experiment I'm working on. Monday is Monday match lessons. So the idea is that I saw a really great Andre Agassi quote the other day where he was talking about he was talking about tennis, but it was that everything you learn in tennis is applicable to life as well as business, entrepreneurship, whatever it is you're doing. Like, so it's what I'm trying to take on the Mondays is basically because my audience is twofold, right? It's the pickleball people that know me from pickleball, but it's also a new audience of people that live with chronic illness and have ostomies and Crohn's. And so I'm trying to have a newsletter that kind of hits home for both. So Mondays are Monday match lessons where I talk about what I'm learning from the pickleball court and how that ties into life for everybody. And
You
then
know,
Friday is
Rob,
just going to be a recap.
you
Yeah.
would love our episode with Dr. Jim Lair, who you may know from your tennis days, but I think it was episode 4 because he talks a lot about how, sport in a lot of ways is analogous to life, and the lessons that we learn in
Yeah,
sport we can apply to our lives in
Do you
general.
know who he is?
absolutely. No, I don't actually.
Oh,
Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Jim Lair?
It sounded like
But
you.
I'm excited to listen though.
Yeah, he was the sports site guy for 17 number ones in the world in tennis.
It's
And I think he
crazy.
worked at Bollettieri, the
Yeah,
academy.
he's worked
Yeah.
all over. I mean,
Yeah.
he's now is in his 80s. I was like amazed that I just like on a whim I'm going to email the guy, and he's like, "Sure, let's do it."
It's
I didn't
amazing.
expect him to say yes, but yeah, you got to listen to the episode. He's great.
I
Um,
will. Yeah.
yeah. But Tosh, did you?
So
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Rob.
yeah, no, you're fine. So that's the newsletter, and then yeah, Ostaware is the new thing I'm working on, which is basically so for people that have ostomies, basically you wear a belt essentially that keeps it kind of snug. It allows you to move. One thing with ostomies is like you're very like I think the stats crazy. It's like 60% of people that have ostomies will develop a hernia at some point
Hmm.
because your abdominal wall is just it's weak, it's been cut into, right? So it's just very weak. So
Mhm.
really easy to get hernias. So the belt helps prevent that. It keeps it snug and allows like so anytime I'm like going to the gym or playing, I'm always wearing a belt.
Mhm.
But the ones I've worn, I haven't loved. They've been hot. They've been like, yeah, they're like big Velcro, like
Right, right.
it's just they're just like they're not good. So
Yeah.
I'm creating a different version of that. That's a little bit better, but it's all focused on people that have ostomies, and it's super. It feels very very meaningful to be able to create something in that space that it's going to help one. And it's going to make my life easier because I'll be able to play with it on. But I
I
think
was
it'll
gonna say you probably put that to the test with playing in tournaments,
yeah
right? Just I mean, as soon after you had your surgery, you were at the next tournament playing,
yeah 10
right?
weeks 10 weeks Dubai. Yeah, that was probably not smart. It was too soon for
Yeah.
sure. I like even when I was there, I was like, what am I doing?
Right. What, we haven't talked a ton about pickleball and we are kind of running out of time, but, because Tosh and I are very much interested in professional pickleball players, but more in a sense of like the human interest story, like who is the person behind the the pickleball pro, behind the photos on Instagram and websites, and we've really enjoyed getting to know a lot more about you. But Yeah. Tosh, do you want to take him out
Yeah,
with?
we usually what we do is we end the conversation with a rapid fire. And I have a new rapid fire for this conversation.
Love it.
So it's a one word segment with a pickleball twist. So you give me the one word that comes to mind to describe what I'm asking you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So your pickleball game style. in one word.
Clean.
Your favorite pickleball paddle.
Sulker.
The feeling of winning a match.
Relief.
The dink.
All day. That's 2 words.
We'll let it pass.
That's like an all hyphen day, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Your dream doubles partner. Could be men or women. Sorry, mixed or women. Mixed or men.
Andre.
Oh, I like
Mine
that
too.
answer.
All right. Your go-to warm-up song. Oh, I guess that could be more than one word.
I don't listen to, I'm a weird one. I don't listen to music before I play.
Okay. Silence.
Maybe
Um,
silencing.
Podcast, silent. Yeah. Just
okay.
Well,
not a lot of music.
obviously, it's going to be listening to the Real Housewives of Pickleball podcast from now
Well,
on.
What
it
else
might
would it
be
be?
his first, but yeah, our
I'm
second.
definitely not listening. Definitely not listening to my podcast.
All right,
That would be insane.
for your next tournament, listen to Jim Lair.
Okay, I like it.
All right.
Done.
Your favorite pickleball venue?
Oh, I'm trying to think outside the box here. This is
Think
not rapid fire. Uh, I'm gonna say Navi Mumbai.
Oh, very cool. I bet it was what made it so interesting.
It
I've
looked
never
like it
been.
was it was like it looked like an airport terminal. It was like this convention center in the new part of Mumbai that was yeah, it's just really cool.
Awesome. Okay, playing in extreme heat. One word that comes to mind. You can say all one words in this on this podcast too, by the way.
Exhausting, exhausting.
Okay.
Oh, that's why I
Uh,
hate outdoor pickleball. I like only will play indoor pickleball now
That's your
in my old age.
this is I talk about it a lot, and
Yeah.
pickleball should not be an outdoor sport. It's
Yeah,
insane.
thank you. Thank you.
It's a wiffle ball. It's too
Right.
light. The
Come
wind.
on.
It like guys, come on. Skin
It's so
cancers. What are we
stupid. I
doing?
know. It's
It's
like
so stupid.
on a windy day, well, like why am I even playing this?
We're gonna play
yeah.
badminton outside? No, we're gonna play badminton indoors. It's
Right.
crazy.
Right.
Traveling for tournaments.
Fun.
Hey, I was thinking that too. All right, the sound of the paddle hitting the ball.
Satisfying.
Yes, pickleball in one word.
Life. I think
Nice.
yeah, I'm not gonna expand on it, but I think not that pickleball is life. Like that's so
Hashtag.
that's what the kids would say, right? But it's no, I think on the note of all of the lessons that you can take from pickleball and incorporate them into life, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Well
agree.
said.
Thank
Well
you so
said.
much,
Great
Rob.
job.
It's been really nice, yeah, getting to know
Yeah.
you and yeah, thank you for sharing everything about what's going on with you with your colostomy and being so open and sharing that with everyone.
Yeah, and I just have to
Yeah.
say,
No. Yeah.
I think you're incredible, Rob. Your strength, your bravery, your openness, your honesty, especially as a grown man. You know, I know that can be hard to do, and you're normalizing a lot of things that may be shameful or embarrassing to people out there, and you know, you're doing all of this while also being a professional athlete, which is people don't realize it's hard work. And so I just, you know, I'm rooting for you. I really am. I'm a big fan.
Thank you so much. Yeah. No, you guys are amazing. You were well researched. You knew stuff that I forgot about. So I really appreciate you guys taking the care and the time to have me on. It's really great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we'll be
Bye.
in touch
Yeah,
and
Ash, do
take
you
care,
want to say
Rob.
what's up? Do you want to say quickly what's up our next episode and then we can
Oh yeah, our next episode, probably someone you played with, I think, Susanna Barr and
Yeah.
Dominic. They are coming on. We're going to talk about the battle of the sexes and pickleball.
Ooh, I'm
Love
excited.
Yeah,
it. Love it.
that'll
That'll
be an
be
interesting
fun.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Okay,
Bye.
take care.
Bye.
Bye.